Hello, dear friends. Cobra's updated reports are always controversial, but they have some very interesting facts, although it's not necessary to believe everything he says. Opinion piece. First contact at the UN. Most of them are human. Earth is the only dark planet. Cobra believes there is less than a year to go. The next 30 days could change the world. It took too long because there is too much darkness. Let's start. The first official public contact with star visitors would take place at the United Nations headquarters a year after the event, contactee Cobra has said in an interview, and he believes it will most likely be much less than a year, because everything is accelerating. So, when things start to happen, they would happen very quickly and with a lot of intensity. The most awakened population and other advanced races would come here after the first contact, and it would be a co-creation. Before the event, we will have the same old boring reality that we are experiencing now. About 60 to 80% of the beings from other worlds are humanoid, the rest are not, and there are even androids. Most of these beings could show themselves and would have a plan to introduce themselves to the surface population when the time is right. A very small percentage of the most awakened star people on the planet are ready for first contact. Everyone else is not ready and never will be. It will simply happen, and they will be forced to face reality as it unfolds. You will be presented with the facts as they happen. They will be presented, That's the only way to do it. We cannot wait for everyone to wake up. So, first contact will occur as soon as it is physically safe for the operation to begin. And it will occur because the critical mass of light wakers has voted for first contact. It will occur as soon as it is safe, as soon as the dark threats are removed. It will happen according to the protocols of entry or the blueprint for contact. All of that will be discussed, and the best course of action will be taken with respect to the situation at that particular time. But yes, first contact is in the plans, and will occur as soon as it is physically safe to do so. The process. Earth is the last place where darkness remains, but the forces of light are willing to invest much time and effort in the liberation of Earth, because if they were to annihilate the planet along with the dark forces, then the anomaly would not be eliminated, and in the next cosmic cycle, the darkness could be created again. So now the forces of light wish to erase and eradicate evil forever. It has to be done, and it has to be completely eliminated, never to happen again. So this is the final operation of cleansing for all time. The implant removal process is still far from complete, because it is the most difficult part of the whole operation, and it is progressing well, but there is still some time left. We all know that this process has gone on too long and too far, and the reason for that is that there is simply too much darkness, and it takes time to process all that darkness. The key is to keep holding the light, keep anchoring the light, never give up, and use common sense. Cobra adds that after the event, people will begin to understand what the planetary situation is and what the overall plan is, and they will have some time to process that information, and most people will be able to process that information. When military law is declared at the time of the event, traffic control, curfews and lockdowns will take place all over the world. If people have survived the lockdowns, they will be able to survive anything else. Most people will be able to process information fairly easily. I mean, some people will have problems with that, but the process has to continue. We can't wait for anyone to be ready because the whole process is already taking too long. Evacuation. The Agartha network is not open to accept the population due to the aircon infection, which is quite severe on the surface, so very few people are ready or able to go there. Very few members of the surface population will go to the underground network of Agartha. Most of them will stay on the surface. They will face their own fears. They will face their own psychological problems until the pole shift. Also, a very small percentage of people will reach ascension on the planet or move to other star systems. The majority of humankind will only go through an awakening and cleansing process. The ascended masters have not been able to contact the surface population due to security reasons. They are planning to come to the surface at some point when the conditions are right, and those who are ascended could manifest in their light bodies and also enlighten the surface population when the time is right. Update. Updated situation report by Cobra dated November 2nd, 2022. There was a major escalation between the Chimera group and the Forces of Light on October 15th, and extraordinary measures were taken. The situation was getting out of control, and since the light forces around us could no longer contain the situation, urgent reinforcement from the Andromeda Galaxy, who are experts in dealing with the Chimera group, went into action. As a result, all but one of the wells have been cleared, and the Orion faction of the Chimera group has all but disappeared, except for small, disorganized groups on the astral and mental planes, which will be cleared in the coming weeks. The Andromeda faction of the Chimera is fearful, knowing that they will be next. The only remaining shaft is not located below the base of Urim and contains the Andromeda Chimera faction's central quantum computer, which controls the scalar artificial intelligence matrix on the electromagnetic fence around the Earth, tethered to implants. When the forces of light take control of that well, they can begin to finally completely disintegrate the scalar matrix on the surface, along with the implants and their toppled booby traps. When that reaches a degree where the risk becomes acceptable, physical intervention can start to occur. Anomalies. Until very recently, the light forces around the Earth were still subject to quantum anomalies to a degree that kept them frozen in fear of toplet bomb retaliation, hence their inaction. Their fear was rooted in the quantum shock of 1996, when the dark forces were able to shake the quantum field of the universe to a degree that was only experienced twice in this cosmic cycle, at the time of the Big Bang and at the time of the creation of the dark forces millions of years ago. The impact of 1996 has awakened the connection of the entire manifested universe to the Buddhic and higher planes, and this has resulted in a decrease in the power of light and an increase in the power of darkness. This shock is now finally being addressed, as the total number of quantum anomalies has fallen below a setting threshold. The events of 15th October have brought the light forces out of their spell of higher fear and they are now taking more action and are accepting a more reasonable amount of risk. Nothing more can be said about the events of 15th October, except the fact that the dark forces crossed a setting unacceptable threshold, and that the light forces responded in a very active manner that could have activated the doublet booby traps. With these enhanced energy dynamics, so-called quantum insertion portals are beginning to open. These portals are fast and effective flashes of light that reach the quantum field on the surface of the planet and can bring a rapid improvement of the situation on the surface. These portals are sporadic, rare and unstable as yet, but are expected to improve. The light forces are developing protocols that would utilize these portals, and applying more linear technology, they would like to make them useful for the surface lightworkers to improve their life situation. These portals come directly from the source, and in theory, a sufficiently large quantum insertion portal could even trigger the event, although that is still highly unlikely at this point. After the failure of the crisis, they are now trying to engineer the restart through a nuclear fear. They are aware of the coming solar flare and preparing accordingly. Their plans will not succeed, and the positive side is quietly preparing for our own positive version of the restart. Breaking news. Road blockade loses steam in Brazil after Bolsonaro's order. President Bolsonaro has not relented but says he will follow the constitution. Bolsonaro's supporters are still blocking more than 70 roads across Brazil. The United Nations once again rejects the US economic and trade blockade against Cuba. Everyone knows who is behind the sabotage of Nord Stream, but prefers to keep quiet out of self-interest. NATO has doubled its troops on the Russian border. M-Bridge, a new international payments project led by China. Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan is shot and wounded in one leg. The Financial Times writes that the UK must abandon imperial nostalgia and follow Mexico's example if it wants to get out of its current slump. The collapse of gas, oil and diesel has been an expected event. Both sides of the operation want the same event for opposite reasons. A big massive investigation started on the unions that are controlled by the mafia, who control shipping trackers and all the ports. The mafia organization controls more than half of the diesel shipments. This mafia, The operation to almost completely shut down the shipping system is an event that will restructure the shipping regime. It will take control from the elite that dominates the unions. We are counting down to November 8th for the midterm elections. The next 30 days will change the world. The future of our culture and the species was at stake 6 months ago. It is no longer. The time has come to take back our great land. The time is now, say the White Hats. The destruction of clandestine tunnels is almost complete. The forces involved need psychological help for some time because of what they have discovered. The Dictatorship of Silence by Oleg Yasinski. One of the greatest myths of modern Western society is based on the individual freedom of conscience and thought, which was offered to each of its inhabitants as a supreme value of the democracies of our times. but this freedom has been manipulated by the powers that be. In today's civilized world, it is forbidden to think, and only one point of view is accepted, as in the time of the Inquisition. Plant Earth and humankind are experiencing a great shift in consciousness, the great awakening to unity consciousness. Mother Earth is becoming a sacred planet again, and is taking with her all the humankind that wants to go. A golden age beyond our imagination is coming. The greatest distribution of wealth the world has ever seen is expected. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.